Hey guys, it's Bizzy. I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I am finally hanging out with BIZZY, and I was super excited. I recently found out about you, and as soon as I went onto Spotify and listened to the music, I was like, this is sick.
Let's go.
Like, I need to sit down with BIZZY and talk about music. So before we really dive in and talk about the music, you've been on tour.
I've been on tour, my first tour.
And it's been amazing. Like, how has that experience been? And you've been on tour with Friendship, who both of those guys are amazing.
I literally love them so much. I could go on for days. It's been like the most, I feel like I've learned more than I've ever learned in my whole life in this 1 month. And it's been like really awesome, really hard, really great. I don't know. I think my favorite thing about the whole entire tour has been like going out after the shows and like meeting fans and people being like, telling like a story about like a song that affected them or the first time they heard it. And I'm like, how is this real? Like I wrote that song like in my parents' basement or like in someone's random studio, and it's like affecting people in all over America, which is so crazy. I'll never get used to it.
That's such like, it's so powerful. Like when you write something like that, whether it's like, you know, whether it's a lyric or a book or poem or whatever, like, and then like so many people can relate, even though it's not necessarily the same issue that you were dealing with. Like, it's just such an incredible feeling. Like as an artist, how does that like fuel you for more music or like even like better to be a better songwriter?
I think it's just interesting because it like gives me so much perspective on like what, like you said, like each song, like I could have written it from like a breakup point, but they might take it like my best friend broke up with me, or I'm going through a really hard time and like the lyrics didn't necessarily help me, but the melody helped me, or like the vibe of the song. So it's just interesting, and it almost does the opposite of like, rather than being like, oh, I need to write more songs like that, it's like, oh, I just need to stay true to what I'm going through, and like that's gonna connect to other people because we're all going through the same thing, whether it's like details are different.
Yeah, exactly. And during this process, like you came from being a songwriter to now being the full artist. Like, how was that transition period like for you? And like, is it harder now to write knowing that it's your feelings, it's your emotions, and people are listening?
Totally. So the transition was like, I think the scariest part for me. It was like, so like growing up, I was like not into music at all. I was like a competitive swimmer. That's what I wanted to do. Man. And then made the switch like around 17, and I was like, I want to be an artist. This is what I want to do. And like my family was like, that's a joke, because and they're like the most supportive people ever, and it comes off horrible, but they were like, you can't sing in front of anybody. Like genuinely, like the fear of standing in front of people was like like I would shake, I would get so sweaty, I would get red. It was like so bad. So my mom was like, honey, no. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, I'm still doing it. Damn. So we looked up like music colleges, and I'm giving you way more than you asked for, but we're just
give it to me. Hit me.
But I looked up like music colleges, and we found Belmont, and I was like, I'm going to do the artist thing. It's going to be it. But I go to Belmont, and everyone is a singer. Everyone has been practicing since they were like 2 out of the womb. I'm like, frick, I know how to barely play guitar.
How do I do this?
Literally. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in as a songwriter and like just kind of figure out how to even co-write with people, because I'd never done that. So I did that for like 4 years, and then it was over that I was like, the only reason I'm not doing this is fear, and that's literally no reason at all. So it was like that transfer moment where I was like, I have to do this, but like, holy crap, I'm freaking terrified. Yeah. So I went out of my way to like text my close friends that I had like kind of created like a good circle of writing friends, and I was like, I'm thinking about doing an artist project, like would you help me, whatever. And they were like so supportive, so like finally like this is happening. And so that gave me like the extra boost of confidence, and it was like it was the middle transfer of like starting to write for myself and figure out how to be the artist in the room, rather than being like, how can I get in this person's brain. It's like allowing other people in your brain and your deepest fears and what you're going through and whatever. That was hard for me, and that took like a year and a half of like really just only writing for myself to like get comfortable and be like, this is what happened and this is how I want to say it. And then it wasn't until like a year and a half later that I wrote Anybody, and that's when I was like, oh, this is the song. So the transition was like tough, but also like I'm so happy I did it. Like I feel so me, which is so awesome.
I love that you still went with it, even though like your parents, who are your most important people, were like, this is a joke, because
and they're the best. Like that sounds really bad, but like
but I get that, because I, you know, when I was in high school, and still to this day, like I have the biggest social anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different thing
That's
once
crazy,
this camera starts
actually.
rolling.
Being
Exactly.
an interview.
I'm a completely different person once the camera's rolling. But if we were just to sit here without cameras, I'd be like, what do I do here? Yeah. So, but like even to this day, like a lot of my friends from high school, they're like, I can't believe you're doing what you're doing. Like
so
you
cool.
were never that child. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
That's the best feeling ever.
It really is. It really is. Even though like once this is off, I'm like back to that old me again. And I'm just like, shit, how do I?
So
I'll just be in the corner.
Yeah, you're like, how do I exist? Frick. Totally.
But it's such a cool feeling to kind of like get to see like this is who I really am. Maybe not other people understand it or believe it, but like this is where I feel comfortable, and this is my space too. Like, and like leading it, like going from learning about yourself, learning about this, like being an artist, performer, songwriter aspect of life to now, like the debut EP's out now.
Crazy.
Insane.
It's like the weirdest feeling.
The title is just perfect.
Thanks.
Because I don't believe in that either.
I don't get them. Like, what the frick?
It's just like, what? Yeah, I don't get heartbreaks. What are they? What are they?
They don't make sense.
It doesn't.
It literally, you spend... And I do this speech every time I sing this song on tour. And my band behind me is like, I could recite it. But it's like the realest thing ever.
It's true.
You spend literally 5 years, in my case, but like 5 years, 2 years, however long with this person, every waking second, you know, their inner workings of their mind, what they like, what they don't like, their allergies, whatever. And then you just break up and you never speak to them again.
Exactly. Fix that shit.
It doesn't make sense. Like, even like human contact, you're not supposed to just directly cut someone off. But like, that's how we've made breakups. And it's like, who the frick came up with it?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Hollywood. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. The
LA
movies.
Living.
Wow.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
It was a PR stunt. And
it was a PR stunt. And then all of a sudden we're following these rules for no reason. I'm out.
Like, I just love that that's the title. And I love that, like,
Thank
that's the story that you basically talked to us in this EP.
Yeah.
The 6 tracks are incredible.
Thanks.
And I'm torn because I feel like it's hard to pick like a favorite song, but at the same time, I feel like I know what my favorite song is.
Tell me.
And I'm just, like, I don't know. Like because every single song is so perfect.
That's sweet. But you can tell me your favorite one.
Spinach.
Yes.
Spinach.
Interesting. I feel like I get different answers, but I love that.
My God. That's where I came from, like that punk rock kind of attitude.
There's like a little angst to it.
Yes,
I'm pissed, but it's also a fun rhythm.
That's my jam.
Yes.
That's my jam. And I just love, like, during this entire process of listening to the EP, like, your voice is just incredible. I feel like every single song unpacks a new superpower of your vocal cords.
That's so nice.
And, like, I don't know how you're doing it.
What is in there?
Like, simply, like, just like spinach on my teeth. Like, I feel like I'm walking.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm just like, how do you go from this to like this?
Yeah. It depends on the night if I can do it.
Yeah. Like, I see, like, I'm geeking out now.
Yeah.
But dive me into that creative process for that song in particular. And like, how did that kind of kickstart for you?
So it's funny. I wrote that song originally, the title. I had written it by myself like a year before I like actually wrote this song. And I had this, I was like in my parents' basement. I don't know why I keep saying it, and I was like thinking about, sponsored, my parents' basement. And I was thinking about it and just kind of strumming and like thinking about the whole relationship. And I was like, I had just had a conversation with one of my college friends, and this was like after we got out of the relationship, and she was like, thank God you broke up with him. Like, he was the worst. And I was like,
clean cut.
Boom. And I was like, why? Like she never said she hated him. And this is so not like on her, but this is on all my friends. Like, none of them told me that they didn't like him until after I had broken up with him. And so it felt like this big obvious thing I was like wearing on my face that like I had no idea about until after. And then someone's like, dude, it's freaking right there. And I'm like, oh.
Actually, you still have some.
Oh, thank you so much. Maybe we could pick it out. Yeah. And it just felt like this whole like obvious thing that I was completely missing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where I somehow got to spinach in my teeth in that mind process of getting there. And so I started writing the song, and I wrote the first version of Spinach in My Teeth alone in my parents' basement. And it was like, it was good and it was fine, but it wasn't like, this is amazing. But I loved that concept. So I like kept the song, kept the concept in the back of my mind. And then a year later, I was walking to those right with Fran Litsky and Brandon Meager, who are like my favorite human beings to write with. And they were like, what should we write about today? And like, we always play a game where like in my notes app I have like 4,000 song ideas, which like, I'm not even exaggerating, which is so dumb. But like I get ideas like randomly, so I'll just write them down, and Brandon will take my phone and just scroll through and like hit something and we'll write about it. And so I like opened my phone to do that, and like the first thing that popped up was Spinach My Teeth, and I was like, I have this concept and you could hate it because it's a weird title. It's so weird. And so I explained it to them and they were like, we're writing it.
That's
so we just took the concept and rewrote the song, and it was like one of the most fun writes I've ever been in, because we just kind of like any filter I ever had, like we just let it go, and it was just like letting it fly, and it was so we had so much fun.
You come to LA and then you start thinking about greens, and then
all of a sudden
it changes your
I'm
life.
writing songs about spinach. Please sponsor me. Yes.
It changes your life. And I love like listening to this. Like it's one cohesive body of work. I feel like one song blends into the other. When I'm listening to the title track, I feel like you also have some verses of Clean Cut.
Totally.
Or even like vocal tones of Clean Cut in it as well.
Yeah.
What was that creative process of like being able to like do separate singles, but at the same time mesh them together?
So the entire EP is about one relationship. So I think that made it easier. It was like none of these songs are a lie. I wish that I could say they were, but they're not. And starting from like Just Yet, I put it in the order of like when I wrote them and how I wrote them, like in the process. So like Just Yet I would describe as like I don't want to let you go. We've broken up. Like all these songs were written post breakup, but it was all in the process of processing the breakup.
Right.
So yeah, Just Yet is like, I don't want to let you go. Clean Cut is like, okay, I know I have to let you go, but that's going to hurt like a. And then Spinach My Teeth is like, wait, that was a relationship, and why did I even check. And then it was like, you're far enough to like actually like be mad at the person. And then I Don't Get Breakups was kind of like this like step back moment and seeing it from like a zoomed out vision, and I was like, breakups are freaking confusing, like they make no sense. And so I think when I was writing that breakup song, it was kind of like the closing of the doors on that relationship. I was like, okay, like I can put it to rest. Like I got over him, I'm over it. Like it still doesn't make any sense. Let's just put that out there. But it's done. I can lay you to rest. And so I think it was easy to like call back different songs that I had written about him throughout that song, because it just felt like the finale. And in the chorus I say like what do I say? Something clean cut. Say I need a clean cut. This is spring, summer, and fall. And it was funny, we were like and I wrote that song also with Fran Litsky and Brandon. And so that was just fun to like kind of recall on Spinach and like all those songs. And they were like, we could just like kind of call back that song. And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of fun to like weave it all together as one big painting.
Yeah, it's cool because if I didn't know that this EP was out and I was just listening to one song, I'd be like, well, what is this Clean Cut thing? Or like, what is this Spinach thing? Like,
totally.
I'd want to dive back in and like kind of dissect it a little bit more.
Yeah, which I'm kind of glad like releasing songs that have already been released was a little bit hard for me. I was like,
I'm sure
as a listener and a fan of other artists, I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to put something out that's already been out.
True.
So, but like diving back into these songs and listening to them, I was like, they're not finished. Like it feels like I put them out in such a raw space, and like I was processing them as I was releasing them. And now I feel like I've processed them, and now the way I view them is a pack. And so being able to release them as a pack feels like the world gets to see it as the way I see it.
Yeah.
And then like reimagining them, like Just Yet, we had always heard a duet being on that. And like Steins was saying yes to that. I was like, it's a dream. Like this is perfect. And then like doing strings to Clean Cut, like it felt like it finally like brought that song fully to life. Instead of like, because in the beginning I put such a raw production on it because I wanted it to be this like very lyric like vocal point, and that's what you're hearing. And now I'm like, okay, I want to bring it all together and like make people just like feel things. So that was what I was trying to do there.
No, I completely loved every single track, and you can't forget, like I know it's hard to just re-release stuff, but don't forget, you are now an assigned artist. So it's like now it's a debut.
And now it's a debut. Oh my God, it's such a big
like,
deal.
The heck, the girl that like didn't listen to music. Who doesn't listen to music? First of all,
wait, I listen to music. I was
gonna cut you off when you were like, I was just a swimmer.
No, I was an avid listener. I was just not a musician. I wouldn't paint myself as a musician. I was like the girl in the like played guitar purely because my older sister played the guitar, and I was like, I want to do what you do.
I thought you were anti. I was like,
oh my God, I loved music. Yeah, you're like, wrap this up quick. No, I was like an avid music listener growing up, and like just like I think I just feel a lot of things constantly, and music was like an outlet for that for sure.
Man.
Yeah.
During this entire process, working with Brandon and David, like how did they allow you to step out of your comfort zone, but also at the same time like feel comfortable to do like the vocal madness that you do?
Totally. I love them both. Like they're both such incredible humans, and I think Brandon was the first like producer I ever worked with, and in my mind producers had this huge like fear factor for me. It was like I had always been the songwriter. I never had to deal with producers or what I heard in my head and getting that out. So there felt like such like a wall between me and like the idea of working with a producer. And I remember I texted Jules Paymer when I was looking for like start recording my songs, and Jules was like, work with Brandon. He's amazing. He has no ego. He's just like brilliant. And I was like, okay, don't lead me astray. I'm scared. And she was like, or they were like, sorry, they switched their pronouns. And they were like, no, they're amazing. Like you just have to try it. And so I tried. I walked in with Brandon, and Brandon is like the most down to earth, like just welcomes you into exactly where you are person. Yeah. And he was like, I don't know, he's just down to try anything. And I was like, should we put like a weird riff here? And can I talk in this part? And then like, can we keep that in the song? And like, he was like, let's freaking do it. And like in Just Yet, that song is like 7 different time signatures because I wrote it on my guitar and my timing is like 2 beats off 24/7. Like my band wants to kill me always.
But see, like that's what really draws my attention, that my brain is not, you know, is not just on autopilot. It's totally. Like I have to actively listen because the signatures are just pretty constant, whether it's your vocals or the sounds. Right.
And he was like, we're going to figure it out. Whereas most producers would have been like, it doesn't match in the 4/4. We can't do it. And he's like, no, we'll just add another bar.
This cannot be on the radio.
Yeah. And I'm like, let's do it. And he was just like, oh, he was so awesome. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, really great.
That like diving back into those signatures, is it you because like that's how your brain works when you're writing music, or is this something that like that is different once, like do you think about these different signatures as you're writing music, or is it something that once you step into the studio, like that's when instrumentation really happens and flows?
It's funny because I write lyrics and melody at the same time, but it's not even that I'm like, oh, this is going to be in 4/4 and this is going to be in 3/4 and whatever. Yeah. It's like I'm just writing, like I try and go into like a zone of like, okay, I'm in the moment that I'm writing about. And like usually I'm like closing my eyes and I can see kind of the movie that is going on in my head. And I'm basically singing about the movie. I'm almost describing that to whoever's listening.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I get in the moment, and then I don't like, then it's just kind of like a subconscious thing of like, okay, I'm singing and this is how I'm feeling emotionally. So I'll go faster sometimes and I'll go slower.
Yeah.
And like, then I realize, oh, I wrote it in like 4 different time signatures, not on purpose, not trying to be cool, just kind of annoying for the producer. But
it's a lot of math.
Yeah, it's a lot of math. Brandon's like, what the frick? I'm like, sorry. But it just kind of, it's like, it's so not on, like, I still don't know anything about music theory. I don't know how to read music. Like, I've never been one of those people, and I would love to be.
Yeah.
But it's definitely just an emotional thing. And when it picks up and gets more intense, that's just like my feelings getting more intense.
Yeah. Which song would you say that like challenged you the most vocally on this recording process?
Ooh, that's good. I think either Just Yet or Spinach.
Okay.
In My Teeth. Sorry, that's the whole title. I just have shortened it because I'm lazy. But yeah, I think both of them. Just Yet wasn't like vocally like challenging in recording, but we did so many harms in like trying to grab the emotion of the song without like taking its integrity away. That we had to be like super careful on the way I recorded it. And I remember we started recording it. Normally I'll record vocals with Brandon like in the room, like he'll be at the computer and I'll be like at the stand. And I like started recording and I was like, I can't record with you in the room. And he was like, okay, we'll put you in another room. So they put me in like this kind of like, it was like a random, it was like another recording studio, but not set up at all. So we set like a mic up in the middle of the room. And I remember just being like, Brandon, you're going to think I'm a freak after this, but I'm going to have to like move around. And he's like, okay. And so like at one point I'm laying down on the couch, like completely feet up like this. And I'm like trying to get it. And it was, I don't know why I had to do it, but it was like, I had to find a certain feeling in my body to record.
Yeah.
And then there was one point where Brandon came and he was like trying to fix the mic, and I was like hovering over the mic like a rapper. I don't know. It was like the weirdest vocal session of my entire life, but I'm okay. It was fine.
So can we see that live?
Yeah, I actually have videos. I'll post them. It's embarrassing. I'm like ganging around the mic, and then there's
That's
somewhere I'm
too
like
funny.
crying and sad, and I don't know. It was a day.
You have to do that on your live shows.
Yeah, I don't know if people would watch me on my live shows if I did that.
People would be
First,
like,
they'd be like,
"Okay."
"She's a freaking on something for sure." Okay, whatever.
So what did you learn about yourself during this process? Like, like is
I
this a
learned
new technique?
a lot. I learned that like I think I'm a visceral person, where in the sense of like I like need to feel the way I felt
Yeah.
writing the song, because I think one of the things that like, and this is me not tooting my horn, but I think the like one of the main things that gets through my music is the emotion that I'm feeling when I'm singing it. And like I really try and like emulate that, and by doing that I have to be so like in that headspace when I'm recording it. So I'm like, okay, I was hunched over and I was in this terrible place when I was writing the song, and I want that to come through in the song. And so finding that like body space, making myself small, like doing whatever I can to get back into that place was like so important for me with Just Yet and with Clean Cut. And then also with like Spin Into My Teeth, I was like jumping around the studio. I was like like going like this, and we were like running back and forth. Like I was like, I want to emulate the feeling that like I had when I wrote this song. Like I don't want to lose that, because I think that that's like the most important part. Like it's a journal entry, and you can't go back and read it monotone. You have to go back and read it like you're really angry about it.
Feel it.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot. It's been such an awesome experience. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited that now we get to listen to all of this.
Me too.
I'm excited for people to get to know who BIZZY is.
Same. Deep dive into my journal.
Oh my God, please. So to close us out, like during this whole experience, what was your favorite moment that you like felt you had, whether it was in the writing process or the recording process?
That's so hard.
Being in fetal position.
In fetal position. That's honestly one of my favorites, because I've never, I think, been that comfortable in a studio, and I don't know if I ever thought I was going to be able to be. And like Brandon creates such a safe space for any artist to like be yourself and just do whatever. And he's like, I'm going to be at the computer. You can literally run around here and do whatever the frick you need to do. Just sing.
Yeah.
And I think I just felt so safe, and so like I'm so myself right now. And that's, I think, what I go for in life in general, is to feel so comfortable and like confident around other people and let them feel the same way. And I don't know, I think I learned a lot about how to find that in myself throughout this process of recording and writing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
You're the best.
Thank you for hanging out with me.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you for creating what you're creating.
Yeah, thanks for
listening.
listening.
Be sure to check out BIZZY. I Don't Get Breakups is out now, and hopefully catch her on tour real soon. Maybe a headline of some sort.
Oh, dreams.
Please make it happen, because I gotta experience that whole live show.
So. Oh, I'll be rocking in the corner.
There we go. Thanks for watching on Front Row Live.
Thanks, guys.